this video, we will be discussing how to set up manual overrides on your equipment with the iGrow 800 environmental controller. Now with the iGrow 800, to initiate equipment overrides, you would have to go into the equipment settings, and you would do this by hitting OK. Then you would go to System Setup, and then you would go into the equipment setup. Now as you can see, 1 and 2 are vent equipment types because they have open and close, and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 are basically on-off devices. Now to do an override for a vent equipment type, you'd hit OK, going into the equipment screen, and as you can see, button number 1 gives the option for timed override. Right now the override is currently disabled. You would have to enable the override to initiate, and then it gives you the options for this particular equipment type to override to a certain percentage. You'd have to initiate a start time, you would have to initiate a duration time for how long you want the override to occur, and you would also have to initiate if you want this override to occur daily or just one time. Now for this particular option, you would have to put a certain percentage you want the vent to open, and according to this screen, you have a start time of 12 a.m. and you have an override duration for 2 hours and 2 minutes, and it's going to open at 33% starting at 12 a.m. for 2 hours and 2 minutes, and then after those 2 hours and 2 minutes, the vent will reposition to its current state according to temperature and humidity staging. And just be advised, this is just an example for vent equipment type overrides. Now going back, you have another type of override for on-off devices. And what this is, if you go to timed override in output number 1, you would enable the override, and you would give the override a start time, you would give it a duration time for the override, and you would also indicate if it's daily or one time. Now for on-off devices, you can override the device to turn off, or you can override the device to turn on. And we're going to override this device to basically turn off. Now that we have set our parameters for this on-off equipment device override, we have enabled this override to basically turn off at 12 a.m. for a duration time of 1 hour and 2 minutes, and we want this to occur daily. Be advised that once you set overrides supersede temp and humidity programming. So it's very important that you are aware of when you establish overrides, because regardless of what the current programming is, if overrides are in fact enabled, they have priority of pre-existing programming. So if you're going to use them, keep it enabled, but if you decide not to use the override, always go into the equipment screen and disable it. So just remember, if we were to go ahead and go back all the way out, to get to your equipment overrides on this controller, you would go OK, you would go into System Setup, and you would go into your equipment setup, and you would have to go into each equipment type to in fact set up the override. And that's our video in overriding equipment on the iGrow 800 controller.